She texted her friend while sitting next to me. At least he'll pay for the baby, even if it's not his. I saw the screen reflection. I didn't argue. That night I pretended nothing happened. A month later, she was explaining to a judge why her baby had no father. It's funny how your whole world can be dismantled by a few words reflected in a dark screen. We were on the couch watching some mindless action movie. A car chase was happening, lots of flashing lights and dark city streets. My girlfriend Olivia was sitting beside me, her head on my shoulder, tapping away at her phone. She thought I was engrossed in the movie. I wasn't. I was watching the reflection of her phone in the dark glass of our TV cabinet. Her screen was bright against the dark wood. I could make out the shape of a text conversation. I saw her type out a message to her best friend, a girl named Chloe. I couldn't see all of it, but one sentence came through with perfect, soul-crushing clarity. At least he'll pay for the baby, even if it's not his. The words hung there in the reflection, a digital ghost of a conversation that was never meant for me. A follow-up text from Chloe popped up, a string of laughing emojis. Then Olivia typed again. He's so excited. It's actually kinda sad. He has no idea. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. The sound of the movie, the explosions and screeching tires, all of it just faded into a dull roar in the back of my head. We had been together for 4 years. She had told me she was pregnant a month ago, and I was, as she said, excited. I was ecstatic. I had already started converting the spare bedroom into a nursery. We were looking at houses. I was planning a future that I now realized was a complete fabrication. She put her phone down, snuggled closer, and said something about the movie being loud. I made a noise of agreement. I put my arm around her, pulled her in, and kissed the top of her head. She sighed, content. It was the best acting job of my life. Inside, a switch had been flipped. The part of me that loved her, that trusted her, just went dark. In its place was something cold, quiet, and razor-sharp. She wanted me to pay for another man's child. She thought I was a fool she could manipulate for 18 years. She had no idea who she was dealing with. I wasn't angry. Anger is a hot, messy emotion. This was different. This was a problem that needed a solution. A permanent, legal, and devastatingly final solution. That night, as she slept peacefully beside me, I stayed awake and started to build the trap. Update 1. The month that followed was a masterclass in deception. On the outside, I was the perfect doing partner. I went to every doctor's appointment. I listened patiently as she and Chloe debated the merits of various ridiculously expensive strollers. I painted the nursery a soft, neutral yellow. I was a rock of support, a pillar of clueless devotion. Inside, I was a machine, methodically gathering the pieces for the reckoning to come. My first step, the morning after I saw the text, was to hire the most ruthless family law attorney I could find. A guy named Marcus Thorne, a man with a reputation for being a shark. I sat in his office and laid out the facts. I told him what I saw, and I told him my goal. I wanted to be completely legally and financially severed from this child, and I wanted Olivia to face the consequences of her fraud. Marcus was blunt. What you saw is a good starting point, but it's not evidence. It's hearsay. We need proof, undeniable scientific proof, and we need to let her walk into the trap herself. So I began to gather that proof. I hired a private investigator, a former cop with a knack for being invisible. His job was simple: find out who Olivia was seeing. It didn't take long. Within a week, the PI had a name and a face. David, a guy from her old office she'd always described as a work friend. The PI provided photos of them meeting for lunch, of him visiting her at her mother's house when she claimed to be having a girls' night. The next part was tricky. Marcus explained the concept of paternity fraud and the legal presumption of paternity. If we were married or living together when the baby was born, the law would presume I was the father. Her plan was to use that presumption as a weapon. Our plan was to use it as the bait. The PI's next task was to acquire DNA samples. Olivia's was easy. I gave him the disposable cup she drank her smoothie from that morning. David's was harder. The PI followed him for 2 days. He finally got his sample from a plastic water bottle David threw in a public trash can after leaving the gym. It was clean, it was legal, and it was everything we needed. I overnighted the samples to a certified lab for a private, non-legal paternity test. The results came back a week later via a secure email. 999% probability that David was the biological father. I saved the PDF to an encrypted drive and continued to play my part. I hosted a baby shower for her at my house. All her friends came, including Chloe. They ate the food I paid for, opened the gifts I helped buy, and talked about what a wonderful, supportive father I was going to be. Chloe even gave a tearful toast about how Olivia had found her soulmate. I smiled through the whole thing, a wolf in sheep's clothing, watching them celebrate their own impending doom. Throughout this month, I was also making financial moves. I systematically untangled my life from hers. My salary was rerouted to a new personal account. I lowered the limit on her supplementary credit card to the bare minimum, claiming I was trying to improve our credit score before buying a house. I sold a portfolio of stocks I had, converting them to liquid assets that I moved into a trust. I was preparing for war. The day Olivia went into labor, I was there. I held her hand. I coached her breathing. I was the picture of a devoted partner. When her son was born, I held him. I looked at his face, and I felt nothing. No connection, no love, just a cold sense of purpose. The nurse came in with the birth certificate paperwork. This was the moment, the linchpin of our entire strategy. Olivia looked at me, her eyes tired but triumphant. "You should sign it, babe," she said. I looked at the form. I looked at her, and with a steady hand I signed my name on the line that said, Father. I had officially legally claimed another man's child. The trap was set. Update 2. The breakup was as calculated as everything else. 2 weeks after she brought the baby home, I initiated a conversation. I told her that the stress of the new baby had made me realize we wanted different things, and that I thought it was best if we separated. I made it about me, my fears, my cold feet. I played the part of the overwhelmed, commitment-phobic man. Her reaction was perfect. It wasn't sadness. It was rage, a cold, calculated fury. She called me a monster, a coward for abandoning her and my newborn son. She told me I would regret this, that she would see me in court, and that she would take me for every penny I had. It was exactly what I wanted. 2 weeks after that, I was served with papers. She had filed for full custody and an exorbitant amount of child support. Her legal filings painted me as a wealthy, deadbeat father who had promised her the world only to abandon his family at their most vulnerable moment. Her lawyer, a smarmy guy who probably took the case on contingency, saw a big payday. Our first appearance in family court was a preliminary hearing. It was a small courtroom packed with other couples going through the same ugly process. Olivia was there with her mother and Chloe, all dressed in their somber victim vest. They looked at me with pure contempt. Olivia's lawyer presented his case. He had the birth certificate with my signature in black and white. He had photos from the baby shower. He had text messages where I talked excitedly about becoming a father. He painted a damning picture. "Your Honor," he said with a flourish, "this is a straightforward case. Mr. Evans is the legal and acknowledged father of this child. He is a man of significant means who is attempting to shirk his most basic and sacred responsibility." The judge, a no-nonsense older woman, looked over the documents. She looked at me. "Mr. Evans, you signed the birth certificate. Do you have anything to say to this?" I stood up. "No, Your Honor. My attorney will speak for me." Marcus Thorne rose slowly, a file in his hand. "Your Honor, we are not here today to debate my client's signature on that document. My client was led to believe he was the father, and he acted accordingly. However, new information has come to light. Information that proves a significant fraud has been perpetrated against my client and against this court." Olivia's lawyer jumped to his feet. "Objection. There is no evidence of any fraud." "On the contrary," Marcus said, his voice calm and lethal. "There is, Your Honor. We have recently obtained the results of a court-admissible chain of custody DNA test which was performed last week." He placed the file on the judge's bench. "The results of that test show a 0% probability that my client, Mr. Evans, is the biological father of the child in question. It also shows a 99% probability that the father is another man, a Mr. David Harrison." The courtroom went dead silent. Olivia's face had gone from smug to sheet white. Her lawyer looked like he had been punched in the gut. The judge opened the file and read the report. Her expression hardened. She looked up, not at me, but at Olivia. "Ma'am," she said, her voice dangerously quiet, "is what this document says true? Is this child not Mr. Evans?" Olivia started to stammer. He's trying to get out of pain." "That is not what I asked." The judge cut her off. "Answer the question. Yes or no?" Olivia looked at her lawyer, who was staring blankly at the wall. She looked at her mother, whose face was a mask of horror. She looked at me, and for the first time I think she saw the man she had so badly underestimated. "Yes," she whispered. Final update. The judge's ruling was as swift as it was brutal. The moment Olivia admitted to the paternity fraud under oath, the entire case collapsed. The judge was furious. She tore into Olivia and her lawyer for bringing a fraudulent case before her court, calling their actions reprehensible and an abuse of the legal system. She immediately granted our petition to disestablish my paternity. My name was to be struck from the birth certificate. The child support case was dismissed with prejudice, meaning she could never file it against me again. But it didn't stop there. Marcus was prepared. He filed a motion on the spot requesting that Olivia be held responsible for all of my legal fees, as well as punitive damages for the emotional and financial cost of her fraudulent claim. Given the clear evidence of her premeditated deception, Marcus even brought up the PI's report. Though the judge said the DNA was sufficient, the judge granted it. The final judgment was staggering. Olivia was ordered to reimburse me for every single cent I had spent on the pregnancy and the baby. Doctor's bills, nursery furniture, baby supplies, even the cost of the baby shower. On top of that, she was ordered to pay my attorney's fees in their entirety. The grand total was well into the six-figure range. The last I saw of her in that courtroom, she was sobbing uncontrollably as her mother and a stunned Chloe tried to lead her out. Her grand plan to secure an 18-year meal ticket had not only failed, it had left her with a mountain of debt that would follow her for years. The aftermath was a complete and total implosion of her life. The news of the court case spread like wildfire through our old social circle. Everyone who had taken her side, who had called me a deadbeat, was now faced with the undeniable truth of her deception. She was a social pariah. Chloe, the loyal best friend, distanced herself immediately. She claimed she had no idea the baby wasn't mine and that Olivia had lied to her, too. David, the biological father, was not pleased. Olivia had to hire another lawyer to go after him for paternity and child support. He fought it, of course, but the DNA was undeniable. He is now legally and financially on the hook, and from what I've heard, he resents her and the child immensely. As for me, I walked out of that courtroom a free man. I sold the house, wiping away the last remnants of our shared life, and moved into a new place downtown. I took the money that was supposed to be for a family home and invested it in my business. My revenge wasn't just about winning in court. It was about forcing her to live in the truth. She had built a fantasy based on a lie, and I simply held up a mirror. Every consequence she is now facing is a direct result of her own choices. I didn't ruin her life. I just stopped paying for the one she invented. And that I found is the most satisfying victory of